You've probably heard of Southwest Ireland's two most popular peninsulas, the Dingle Peninsula and the Ring of Kerry. But there's a third peninsula down there, the Beara Peninsula, and that's where we're headed today. Hi, thanks for joining me again here on the Traveling in Ireland podcast. Today we're headed to a spot that kind of lives in a strange tourism limbo. It's split between counties and somewhat overlooked due to the popularity of nearby locations. It's a spot that has stunning coastal views, megalithic monuments, waterfall hikes, winding mountain passes, and Ireland's only cable car. Are you intrigued yet? Today I have Tessa Dennison joining me to share the highlights of the Beara Peninsula. Tessa, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. So regular listeners are going to know that I usually invite guests to share a little bit about their business closer to the end of the episode. But with Tessa, we're doing things a bit backward because her business is actually why I invited her to join me on the podcast. Tessa is a graphic designer that specializes in books and magazines, and she is also the publisher of The Best of Beara, which is a magazine that you'll find regionally and online, as well as a charming book of the same title. I'm just so excited to have you with me, Tessa, today. And after that build-up, why don't we just start with the basic of where is the Beara Peninsula?
Well, the Bere Peninsula is on Ireland's southwest coast. And there are three peninsulas that people have probably heard of, which are the Dingle Peninsula, the Ring of Kerry, or the Beara Peninsula, and then the Beara Peninsula. And there are more little fingers as you go kind of down the coast, but those are the three kind of main ones. Everyone's heard of the Ring of Kerry, but very few people have heard of the Ring of Beara, which makes it an incredibly special place.
It really is. Like I said, it kind of has that strange tourism limbo because part of it's in Kerry and part of it's in Cork. And it's like neither one of them really promote it. And it keeps it off that tourism radar, which I think is super special.
Well, the book and the magazine came about precisely for that reason. My daughter and I were sitting in a cafe one day, and there's a little publication for Kerry. It's called the Kerry Gems, and it's been running for years and years and years. And we were just sitting there in this cafe, and I picked it up and I said to her, "Isn't it a shame there's nothing like this for Beara?" And it was like a light bulb moment. And I think that was 2018. And the only year we didn't publish a magazine was in 2020. There was no tourists. There didn't seem an awful lot of point. But I do publish an issue every year, somewhere between 36 and 40 pages. And I always had my camera with me and I was always taking photographs. And that was where the book came. But it started with the magazine because there was no tourism product for Beara. People were coming to the three main towns, Kenmare, Castletown, Bere and Glengarriff, and visitors to those towns were often not visiting the peninsula. They were travelling from one town to the other and missing off this lovely loop in between. You can drive from Kenmare to Glengarriff in about 20 minutes, or you can spend 27 years going around the Beara Peninsula, So people were coming to the area but not exploring the peninsula because they didn't know what was there, and they were driving round but not stopping because they didn't know what was there.
And that's so true. I know that probably my first taste of the Beara Peninsula was the Healy Pass.
Yeah, you don't want to be the faint-hearted to do the Healy Pass.
Oh, but gosh, just outstanding. And let's maybe set the stage a little bit. When people are visiting Killarney, there's a lot of talk about the Gap of Dunlow. Beautiful mountain gap. But the Healy Pass, to me, it's just so much more. So it's beautiful. High mountain pass. The views are never ending. It's just stunning.
I always encourage people to do it from the Adrigal side as well, because I think that climb up and then you get to the peak with a little religious grotto, which I think is just wonderful. And then the whole of Kenmare Bay and the McGillicuddy's Reeks just there in front of you. And I think going the other way, you do have a little bit of a view, but nothing beats that view from the top when you're heading back from Cork into Kerry.
We're going to cross it both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I did it, I was actually lost. I'm rather ashamed to say. I was trying to go to Glanmore Lake. I went left instead of right.
So before we get away from your magazine, where can people find it? Because I know you have it online, and I ordered your lovely book from your Instagram account.
I have a website, which is bestofbeara.com, and I put digital versions of all the magazines up there. And they usually go up, I suppose, about a month after I get my physical kind of copies. I print between 7,000 and 10,000 copies a year, depending on when I get it done, because I do other magazines as well. And the Beara is like a personal project, so it doesn't always get finished on time. So I try to have it out by Easter. That's my kind of deadline. But Easter moves, but I do try to get it out by Easter. And I have quite a good distribution network. So it goes to all the main towns. It goes to all my advertisers, but it also goes to all the tourist offices in Cork and Kerry. So it goes to Killarney and Dingle, Listowel, and it goes all the way down to Skibbereen and Clonakilty as well, and Bantry. So anybody who's visiting those places can pick up a copy and hopefully go exploring.
And it's a beautiful magazine. Oh my gosh, it's such nice quality and the pictures are gorgeous. Oh, it's stunning.
I just think that if you're going to do something, you might as well do it well. And I just think as well with the Beara Peninsula, you can't go wrong, really. Do you know, like, I don't think you can take a bad picture of it.
I think that can be said for a lot of Ireland, but I agree. So like we mentioned, the Beara Peninsula is overshadowed by the Ring of Kerry and by the Dingle Peninsula. And they do all have a lot of the same features. They all have beautiful scenic coastal views. They all have the megalithic aspects, some beautiful places for walks and things. So what is it that makes Beara so different and so special?
Well, to me, I think it's real Ireland. I think if somebody was going to describe Ireland, I think it would be the Beara Peninsula. And what I think is really nice for visitors is you're never very far from anything. So like I always start the journey in Kenmare because that's where I live, but Kenmare to Lorach, you're only 20 minutes. You've got Doreen Gardens, Kilmacalogue Harbour, the Cashel-Kilty Standing Stones, Anshabeen for a bite to eat. And then you're only another 15 or 20 minutes to Ardgroom and the Inward Ardgroom Drive. And I just think that's what's so nice about it. It's very accessible, is that you don't have very far to go from one place to another. And I think as well, if you ask people to describe an Irish village, they would talk about the brightly coloured houses and the little streets. And Beara has that. And there's Eyeries and Allihies that are just so quintessentially Irish. And it's what people think of as being Ireland. And you could, even in the middle of August, have the place to yourself, which I think is just nice. There's no tour buses. There's very few tourists. And Beara people like to stop and have a chat. You know, you could be planning a day out and only get 20 miles. You know?
I think that is probably that magic of the Beara Peninsula. The fact that you are not, even in Killarney or Dingle, it's very easy to be completely surrounded by Americans or Canadians or Australians or other Europeans and kind of wonder, where is that authentic feeling, right? I hear the word authentic a lot when I'm talking with people who are planning a trip. And Beara, because it doesn't get the tour buses and it doesn't have the notoriety, that's your authentic Irish peninsula.
I think it has a lot of things as well. Obviously, I knew quite a lot of places, but I found things that I'd never explored before. Just outside Eyeries, there's the Ballycrovane standing Ogham stone, which is the biggest in Europe. It stands 15 metres above ground, but they think there could be as much again below ground. You know what I mean? Like, how? You know, how? And there's Eyeries, which is a beautiful little village, has a very unassuming church, which has 11 world-class stained glass windows in it by a really famous Irish artist. And they were bought and paid for by the community and in the 1980s. And, you know, that's just like, I didn't even know that was there. I just popped in one day just to have a little look. It has so many things that you wouldn't see anywhere else. And I think Beara as well. I mean, to me, the Buddhist retreat at Beara should be on everybody's itinerary, just for even an hour of contemplation and reflection before you move on again, you know. So.
And then the Beara Peninsula, you also, let's say that you're in Bantry, which I think is an often overlooked town as well. I always tell people to go to Bantry if they want to know what Dingle used to be.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, you know, we digress, but Bantry has a really famous architectural wonder, which is their library. it's just like the most wonderful piece of 1960s architecture that's just being, I think it's the 1960s, just being renovated. Like you find things on the Beara Peninsula that you just don't see anywhere else.
Well, and I know that Bantry, in their tourism information, some of the stuff, especially like islands and boats and things, you need to go around to the Beara Peninsula to get to those, even though they're advertised as Bantry. So there's quite a lot to do. You have water sport, you have beautiful little islands. Like I said, the cable car, which is the only one in Ireland and quite a fascinating thing there.
They've actually renovated it or replaced it. But I remember the first time we went across, there were sheep waiting to get on board as well. You just never knew who you were going to be sharing your journey with.
I know. It kind of blew me away the first time I heard that they transported livestock on it. I was like, I never would have thought of that. But it's probably a much smoother ride than the water.
Well, I mean, it is the only way really to get them across. Yeah, you could be sharing your journey with anything really, do you know?
So perfectly Irish. So Beara doesn't have that tourism focus that you find in other places. So you're not going to find loads of hotels. You're not going to find streets lined with tourist shops, souvenir shops, and things like that. So how should people think about it when they plan their visit? Because it's obviously a place that, yes, you can do it in a day, but maybe you should slow down and spend a couple. So if people are thinking about, they're like intrigued by this magical spot that we have just shared with them, how should they think about planning their trip? Explore the Bere Peninsula at your own pace in a rental car. When it's time for you to compare car rental prices, be sure to check out Irish Car Rentals, my top pick for great vehicles and excellent customer service. Plus, I have an exclusive 10% discount when you use my booking link, IrelandFamilyVacations.com/ICR. Go ahead and start your journey the smart way. Save more and explore more with Irish Car Rentals. Remember, you can get that 10% discount with booking link, IrelandFamilyVacations.com/ICR.
Well, I think first of all, they should stay in one of the big towns, either Kenmare, Glengarriff or Castletownbere. There are loads of little places kind of in between, lots of fabulous B&Bs, small guest houses. But if you're near one of those towns, Kenmare, for example, has 33 restaurants, bars and cafes. So if you're near Kenmare, you're going to have a great nightlife, loads of places to eat. And it's a beautiful heritage town, but you've got that Beara Peninsula on your doorstep. Glengarriff has the Blue Pool. It has Garnish Island. So that's another nice place to base yourself, but you're still close to Beara. Beara's not huge, but I would definitely say stay in one of the big towns, and that way you get the best of both worlds. When I say big town, I mean Kenmare's got a population of a couple of thousand, like a metropolis.
And also, people think of Kenmare as the Ring of Kerry, and it really is. It's like that little town where the two peninsulas join. So it could belong to both.
Yeah, it does. And I think a lot of people don't realise that Kenmare is really the junction. It's just right where the two peninsulas meet. And we're 2 hours from Dingle, and it's very, very convenient. But I think that if you're coming, definitely slow down. I think a couple of days. And I know Falster Island at the moment are running a campaign, Island Unrushed, and they're trying to encourage people to think about staying an extra night wherever they are. If they're going for 2 nights, stay for 3 and really explore one place and really get to know it. And I think that there's so much off the beaten track things on the Beara Peninsula as well. So you need to factor in a trip up to Gleninchquin to the waterfall and the hikes there. It's 6 kilometres from the main road, but it's just worth every single minute of the drive up there. And to do the Inward Ardgroom drive, I mean, you can't come to Beara and not do that drive with Kilcatherine and everything. And the Allerhees Copperbine Museum. I mean, that's a fabulous little treasure. So I would say a good couple of days and just be prepared for a lot of walking.
Obviously, if you are self-driving, you're set. But is it possible for people to enjoy Beara if they are not driving themselves? I know that the rural Ireland buses are getting better.
I've got a friend in Kenmare. She runs a company called Kerry Tour Guides, and she runs Beara tours in a little minibus. And she does groups. So if there's 5 or 6 of you, you can hire her for the day and she'll take you around Beara. She has my book. She was one of my supporters when I published the book. But she does small tours, and sometimes in the summer she does book a seat where she will just say, if you just one person wants to go, you can just issue pay for one seat and she'll fill her little bus that way. So yes, there are ways of doing it. And of course you can cycle it. You could hire an e-bike in Kenmare and you could cycle some of it. There's a big cycle race every year in May. Well, it's not really a race. No, there's never a winner. Everyone's a winner, but that cycles the Beara Peninsula. And that's a great way to see it on a bike. So you don't have to be in a car.
Perfect. I love that there is somebody that is doing a small group tour, because you're not getting big buses on the Beara Peninsula, which is, I think, another thing that makes it really special. You're not going to have that influx of tourism unless they completely revamp every road out there. And there just, at the moment, isn't the need or demand.
A lot of the big buses wouldn't get through the Caja Tunnel. They did actually they had to lower the roadway when they brought in the new big air-conditioned buses because they couldn't get through the tunnel at the top of the Caja Pass. So we do have lots of things in place to stop people coming, But I think the roads are not too bad. I mean, they're all got a good surface on them. Most places there's room for 2 cars to pass. There's lots of passing places. There's no grass growing up the middle of the roads. I think that's always a good sign. And there are stretches of it that, especially between Outergoal and Glengarriff, which are very new, with mountain climbing passes, and that kind of thing. So you shouldn't be put off by the fact that it's the small roads. So just go slow.
No, definitely not. It's such a stunning spot to visit. And it's an experience that you're not going to find in that many places in Ireland, to get to this nearly untouched, somewhat unexplored, not commercialized part.
No, not at all. And I think the Beara Peninsula, as a lot of Ireland, the provenance of everything is very important. So if you go into a cafe, you're going to get local food. Do you know that it's all going to have come from a couple of miles away, if not from the back garden? And I think that's very important as well. I mean, the food culture in Ireland is incredible, but in Kenmare and on the Beara Peninsula, wherever you go, whether it's a small cafe or a 5-star hotel, you're going to get that provenance. You're going to know where your food has come from. And I think that's what makes the area quite special as well. That everyone is very invested in it. But Beara is a very poor area. It's not an affluent area, but I think that makes the people more welcoming in a way. They're very grateful for everyone who comes into their shop. They're very grateful to everyone who comes and buys a cup of coffee from them. They welcome everybody. And I think that's one of the nice things about it as well. Everyone's got time for a chat.
When I first went to Dingle, it was before tourism was very big in the peninsula. And I can remember it being very quiet and very welcoming. And then as it became more and more popular, the welcome is still there, but it's busier. You don't get almost that personal interaction that you used to get. And the Beara Peninsula is kind of that step back in tourism time. Not so much, the step back into old Ireland, but back before some places became very popular and you could take the time to chat and learn a bit more. You were unrushed. And I think that's the very special part of it, I think, is that step backwards in tourism time, if you will.
And if you want a real step back, is you get on the ferry and go to Bere Island. And I actually, ashamed to say that I went for the very first time this year. One of my clients has a really lovely glamping business. And when I was doing the book, she offered to show me around. But getting on that ferry, and I think there was room for 4 cars. I was a foot passenger. And you have to reverse on. I mean, I could never have done it. Always have to be a foot passenger. But that is just absolutely stunning. And I think as well that if you have time, a trip like that it's the icing on the cake, really, to any kind of visit. The beaches and military history as well. There's forts and Martello towers and hiking and, you might as well be in another world. And I think there's something about getting on a ferry and going somewhere and getting off the ferry. It's like getting off into another world. Yeah. I love Bere Island.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it. That's so lovely. I feel like we have probably dropped a lot of interest for people to want to get out and explore the Beara Peninsula. So what do you think that are 3 things that visitors should know? So what about maybe activities that people don't allow enough time for? The best place you think maybe they should eat, maybe watch the sunset? What are 3 really top tips for visitors that you would share?
Well, I think in terms of sunsets, that just made me think you can go nighttime kayaking and experience the bioluminescence, certain times of the year. I mean, I think anything to do with the water. Beara is surrounded on all sides by the sea. There are some fabulous water-based experiences. There's kayaking. You can go out and visit the seals. This is from Kenmare and Castletown, Beara and Adrigole. Someplace you can actually get in a canoe and go out and visit the seals, or you can get on a boat and visit the seals. So to build some kind of water-based activity into your itinerary would definitely be a good idea, and just get out there. And my favourite views of Beara are from the water, just looking back onto the rugged coastline. So I definitely say something to do with the sea.
Definitely a great tip. And the bioluminescence kayaking.
Oh, kayaking at night, yeah.
You never know what's beneath you.
I don't look down.
Do you think that there's something on the island or on the peninsula that people may not allow enough time for? One specific thing? Or would you just say in general, people just need to give it more time?
I think in general, people don't allow enough time because I think you look at it on the map and it's not very far. You can drive around it if you don't stop in a couple of hours. But I think just generally to slow down and to explore some of those off the beaten track places, and not to just stick to the main roads, And I think some of my greatest adventures have just been by following a random sign. I mean, you can go alpaca trekking. Why not?
Yeah, that's not far from Kenmare, is it? The alpaca trekking?
No, it's in Tussis. Yeah, why not? I think anything that just slows you down a little bit and allows you to really experience the place. Anything that slows you down is good by me.
Well, Tessa, I want to thank you so much for chatting with me today. The Beara Peninsula is just such a magical place, and I hope that our little conversation has gotten people a little more interested in maybe getting off of those popular peninsulas and trying something a little different. So before we wrap up, just share one more time where people can find your information on the Beara Peninsula.
Well, my information is at bestofbeara.com, and that's where the magazines are, and that's where the book is. But any kind of Google search will give you plenty of information on the peninsula. But I'd say bestofbeara.com is a good place to start.
It's a great place to start. Thank you so much for your time today. Are you inspired to get off of those 2 busy peninsulas and explore Beara? I know I can't wait to go back after talking to Tessa. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can't leave a review on your podcast app, visit Trustpilot at IrelandFamilyVacations.com/trust and just say something nice. I would really appreciate it. If you have questions or comments about this episode, you can email me, Jody, Jody, at IrelandFamilyVacations.com. As always, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, Slán go fóill.